So most, if not all of you guys that watch this channel on a regular basis, probably saw the Biden-Trump debate last week. I think it was. It was definitely a sight to behold. Trump was very composed, tight and on point, and Biden was a mess, to say the least. Finally, after the debate was over, it seems like all the liberal mainstream media kind of got the same memo saying, all right, you can finally start pointing out Biden's decline. You can finally start turning on Biden. And it all seemed very coordinated, very hand in hand, like, here you go, here you go, here you go, because it happened instantaneously as soon as the debate was over. But more on that in a little bit there. We're going to look at an article from the Daily Mail here in just a second. But after that performance, there's no coming back. There's no coming back for Joe. The media knows it. The voters know it. The DNC knows it. The only problem is Joe doesn't know it. Joe Biden will not step down, from my understanding, or step aside or whatever. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. Depends on how you feel about the situation. But we are going to look at this article here in just a second. It's going to break down how it's not just the easiest thing in the world for the DNC just to replace him, how that can be devastating to their campaign. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. This is from the Daily Mail. It says key Democratic donors or Democrat donors threaten to pull plug if Biden doesn't resign, as furious party insiders reveal worst fears about ailing president have now been confirmed. How stupid do they think we are? So this is neat because this is telling it from a different perspective of the donors. Now, there may be a little mix of other feedback in here as well, but you got to understand, one of the biggest parts of being a politician is being a fundraiser. We heard that from my hometown, not hometown, but my home state girl, Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she was on Tim Pool. She said that's basically what they do. For the majority, they're missing voting because they're in their office making phone calls, trying to do fundraising and whatnot, which is infuriating to say the least. That's what we are voting them in there to do. To fundraise for their party, for their elections and everything like that. Oh, it's so infuriating. But we'll talk about that at another time. But we're going to get into this. We know that this is going to hurt the party because the big donors, the residual donors, those are the ones they can't afford to lose. And those are the ones they're going to fight tooth and nail for. So now they're kind of in a pickle here. So let's go ahead and read through this article. Not going to read the whole article. I did skim through it a little while ago, and it's pretty lengthy. So we'll just kind of skip through it a little bit. Remember, anytime I mention an article or pull up some data, statistics, whatever, I always have that information available to you guys in the show notes below. So a direct link to this will be there. So you can read the whole thing. Make sure I'm not taking anything out of context. I'm not, trying to deceive you or anything like that, which again is more than the mainstream media does. Imagine that. But we're going to scroll on down through here a little bit. It says growing Democratic over President Joe Biden's shockingly feeble debate performance on Thursday night, which is weird because it wasn't that shocking to those of us who have been watching him without that scaling or whatever that's over the eyes. We can actually see, right? People that have actually been woke, I guess, to the point where we are awakened and aware and actually watching and seeing what our politicians are doing. It wasn't that shocking to us. We knew it. Other people called it. Third Railify called it. I know I just mentioned him. The Quartering called it. Steven Crowder called it. Dan Bongino called it. I mean, everybody called it. Except the ones on the left, which is very telling, to say the least. More on that later. Okay. So Joe Biden's shockingly feeble debate performance on Thursday night appears to be turning into a full-blown party revolt. For Biden's own good and the good of the country, he should step aside immediately. Major Democratic donor and former hedge fund manager Whitney Tilson told DailyMail.com. The fact that it has now been 3 days and Biden has done nothing to reassure us confirms my worst fears. Tilson has given the party more than $300,000 in recent years. And that is so infuriating. I had another tweet pulled up and I said, we won't have time to get into that. But it was about Planned Parenthood and how we as taxpayers do so much funding to Planned Parenthood, and then Planned Parenthood turns around and donates a huge portion to the Democrat Party. So taxpayer dollars from Democrats, Republicans, independents, everyone, non-voters, everyone, goes into a bucket, and from that bucket we fund organizations that we may not personally agree to, but our politicians have decided that we're going to fund these organizations. Then some of these organizations will turn around and donate or lobby with, or donate with lobbying, whatever, a portion of those funds back, not to the taxpayers, to Congress as a whole, but to a very specific political party, oftentimes a Democrat Party. To me, that sounds like money laundering, but I'm not a legal scholar here. Okay. Like Ketanji Brown Jackson said, you know, I'm not a biologist, right? So I don't know what a woman is.
I'm not a biologist.
In this case, I don't know if it's money laundering or not. I can't say that for certain, but it certainly sounds like that. And they're not the only ones that do that, Planned Parenthood. So that was a really good tweet. And now I kind of wish I would have left it pulled up. But yeah, there's so much money in politics, and so much of it goes to where it's supposed to go for like campaigning and stuff. And look, I get it. That stuff costs money. There's no question about it. Running the ads. I mean, every time I open a video on YouTube or wherever, I'm seeing ads, political ads. Driving down the road, you're seeing signs. I mean, I get it. Okay. It costs money to do that stuff, but the amount of money raised is pretty astronomical compared to like what other countries do. And it makes you wonder if it's more about being elected to serve the people or more about the power that comes with the positions. I think we both know the answer to that. Moving on here. Sorry, $300,000, just it's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of money. Days after President Biden struggled to hold his train of thought and tailed off mid answer into incomprehensible gibberish during the CNN debate, left-wing benefactors are still up in arms. On Saturday, Biden appeared at a New York fundraiser in a glitzy Long Island beach town, and according to one attendee, read a simple 15-minute speech off teleprompter before leaving without taking questions. Again, we've seen this before. This is all new to the people that have not been paying attention. To us, you and I, the people that watch the show, we have seen this before. If you are new here, one, thank you for watching. Two, don't judge me quite yet. I know I'm going to have a very conservative, right-leaning slant on things, but I got the receipts. I'm going to give you everything that I have to show you that I'm being as down the line and trustworthy as possible. Okay. So stick with me. But if you've been here a while, you already knew this. You knew what he was going to do. You know, he doesn't take questions. You know, he runs from the press. You know, I would say he's all talk, but we can't understand his talk. Right. And he's definitely no game. He hasn't accomplished anything productive as far as I'm concerned. Again, we'll finish this little section, then we'll skip around a little bit. Let's see, 15-minute speech, not taking any questions. Again, normal. Doing that for the next 5 months is not going to be enough, the fundraiser guest said, stressing that Biden's understandably anxious supporters deserve reassurance that he is capable of defeating Donald Trump in November. But later on Saturday night, Democratic National Committee Chairman Jamie Harrison and Biden campaign manager Julie Chavez Rodriguez only further stoked concerns on a conference call with wavering DNC members. Let me kind of look right here, see this is where I want to go. And you guys have seen these pictures, right? And I know the ones that I saw had like the saturation bumped up a bit. And I don't, the left does it. CNN desaturated and greened out Joe Rogan when he had COVID. They did that. That's not the way the footage looked. I did a video a couple years ago with a debate between Biden and Trump, where the blue behind them were two different shades of blue. And of course, Trump was the orange man and he looked super orange. Well, I adjusted the blue to match. I zoomed in and I adjusted the blue to match. I zoomed back out and guess what? Trump wasn't that orange. They had warmed up his side to make him appear warmer. I think that might have been CNN too. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. I have to go back and check. But you'll see here, and other people have pointed this out, he went from pale white as a ghost at the debate to now he's got that spray tan look just like a Trump. So what I was going to say about the adjusting and stuff is most of the pictures I've seen have cranked up the contrast and saturation to where it really pops more. I'm not going to do that. I might for a thumbnail. I don't know. But I'm not going to do that right here. I'm not going to play like that's how he looked. This is how he looked. I mean, but even still, this is a stark difference between this and the way he looked at the debate. I'm looking at this. It almost even looks like, unless it's just the quality of the picture. And I don't know if you can tell. I don't want to zoom in too much because it'll mess stuff up. But right here on the collar, right here on the collar, it looks like some of that spray tan stuff hit that collar, or some makeup hit the collar right there. I don't know. I don't know if it's spray tan, makeup, or whatever, but you know what they say, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So it looks like Biden is now the new orange man. And a lot of people have pointed that out in the Twitter sphere there. Let's see. Yeah, here's some good stuff. It says Democrat donor Whitney Tilson, who we were just talking about, similarly didn't mince words. They're peeing on our legs and telling us it's raining. It's insulting. How stupid do they think we are? In fact, a CBS News YouGov poll conducted over the 2 days following the CNN debate found that 72% of registered voters now do not believe that Biden has the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. That number is up from 65% in early June. On Monday morning, Biden was still holed up in Camp David with his family, who had collected for a post-debate photo shoot with famed celebrity snapper Annie Leibovitz. I'm going to show you this because that is his crew. Okay? So from my understanding, and I don't know if this, I can't remember if this article goes into or not, that's the crew. That's the people he is consulting on whether or not he should stay in the race. His wife, who is getting dolled up in designer clothes by, you know, these big brands and fashion designers and everything like that. She's in all these magazines. She's getting all this attention, and she's the first lady. So they're getting catered to left and right. And then his son, well, who he says is the smartest person he knows. We all know what's going on with Hunter, but he's leaning on these two to help figure out if he needs to stay in the race or not. What an absolute joke. What an absolute joke. It almost made me vomit. Just think, these people make me sick. All right, let's shoot down here a little further. Okay. One reporter could be heard shouting, "Are you going to drop out?" Biden's apparent lack of urgency in addressing the party panics is even now raising alarm among Democrat lawmakers who fear Biden's stumbles may end up hurting their own electoral prospects. Everyone is waiting to see what the president is going to do and say, one House member said. This is key because here you've got not just your donors, not just the media, because I talked about the media, right? And they were talking about the media. But now you start having congressional leaders and House representatives and folks like that speaking up too. That's why I say it's done. It's over. Okay. As far as Biden goes, we can go down a little further and just read some more here. Again, I'm kind of skipping around, but I want to get to one specific section before I move on. Let's see. According to Brett Brune, a former Obama White House advisor, this widening Democrat dread is entirely predictable. Yes, for those of us paying attention. The donors are the canaries in the political coal mine, he said. As polls in the last days have indicated, there are reverberations from Biden's performance up and down the ticket. The notion that it gets messy if Biden steps aside overlooks the fact that it's already a big freaking mess, he added. Perhaps the biggest challenge facing the party is that even if the president stepped away, there would be no obvious replacement candidate or clear path forward. That's the other thing that's getting these guys. Look, come here. Nobody wants Kamala or Kamala. Nobody wants her. Then you got what? Buttigieg. Nobody wants Buttigieg. Newsom is a slick-haired snake oil salesman. Nobody wants Newsom. Okay. Then who else you got? People are saying Michelle Obama. She says she wants nothing to do with politics. She doesn't want to be in it. Obama can't come back, even though he may or may not already be back in the form of, an earpiece in Biden's ear. But yeah, who they got? Who are they going to run? They have nobody. They have nobody. They have no one. They have no clear path forward. It is a big freaking mess. Let's go back to it. Growing number of Americans don't think Biden is fit for office. This is fit, is not fit. Whew. So June, 35% thought he was fit. Now 27, 65 thought he was unfit. Now 72. Good gracious. Let's go ahead and wrap this up with this last part, if I can find it. Here we go. Yep. The only thing I hate about the Daily Mail is how it does cut off for you guys on the far left. And if I adjust it, it's going to mess everything else up. It just goes straight to the side. So I think you guys can see it enough, and I'm kind of reading it to you. So I'm sorry. It's not my fault. It says the most discouraging news for those who want Biden to bow out came from Chavez Rodriguez on a call with top donors on Sunday. She claimed that if Biden were to step aside, then only Vice President Kamala Harris would be able to use the funds raised by his campaign. That's right. The $91.2 million collected by the Biden-Harris ticket as of May 31st is not transferable. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. That's what I was alluding to earlier. That's a big problem. $91.2 million not transferable to any other candidate according to Federal Election Commission rules. So perhaps the party would find its hands tied. And they messed up putting Kamala in there. One of the worst ranked presidential candidates of all time. One of the lowest ranked, if not the worst ranked, vice presidents of all time. If they go with somebody else and Biden doesn't just step aside or do whatever they got, I don't know what they got to do. I mean, they were screwed. That's why I say it's over. But I don't want to celebrate too early. And I'll point out this too. There was an image come out the other day that I think a lot of us saw. Oops, scroll down. I thought it said a cuss word. Good on you guys. You cleaned it up. I'm proud of you. But this was not necessarily from InWokeness, but this is who I saw it from. It says, according to leaked polling numbers from Democratic firm Open Labs, this map falls within the margin of error. Again, this is their own polling data, and it shows 358 electoral votes for Republicans, Democrat 180. This is for Biden against Trump as it stands right now in a poll. So at first, I know you want to say, win! But actually, I don't think it's that simple. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised for a couple of things. One, between this news and the news they can't replace them, everything like that, they are not trying to gaslight us into, just like with the 2022 red wave that never happened, saying, oh, it's all over, Trump's got this, and then we stay home. We quit campaigning. We quit going out there. We quit doing stuff. And, it's not what we want, but it's what they want. That can end up very badly for us all. Yeah. So I want to look at a couple of comments here. Again, this is on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. What am I at? Morning_mayhem, I think that's me. It's in the show notes below. Check it out. But again, in wokeness, yeah. And this is from one poll, from my understanding. Hodge twins, don't trust their data. They want us complacent. We have got to have the biggest turnout in history to win. We already had more votes for an incumbent president. An incumbent president has never gotten, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, this one I don't know 100%, but if memory serves me correctly, there's never been an incumbent president to get more votes their second time around for their reelection and then still lose. And of course, we know President Joe Biden got 81 million votes, more votes than any other president in history. And I'm sure it was all legit. But to what the Hodge twins are saying, to what Crowder is saying, to what everyone is saying that's got any kind of voice or any platform on the conservative side, is we have to show out and show up in such huge numbers that they can't manipulate things. They can't cheat. They can't get away with stealing. They can't do what however you want to word it, however you want to call it, whatever you want to say. If we show up in droves and in large enough numbers, it's either going to be impossible or it's going to make it close enough to impossible. It's going to be very, very difficult to manipulate anything. So we still have to show up, guys. We still have to show up. We still have to vote. Don't let this map fool you. Don't let anything else they're coming out with. Oh, it's over. Like I was saying, it's over. It is over, but it's still only over if we go vote. If we stay home, it's not over. God only knows what'll happen. A few more comments and we'll move on out of this segment here. I think I hear fireworks still going off. That's fun. That's exciting. Here's a good one. So this is persistence. This is Scott Presler. We actually spoke about him in last week's episode of the Morning Mayhem. Did an interview with Robert Herr from the Washcast. I'll leave that in the description or the show notes below too. That was a fantastic interview with Robert, and Robert's come to know Scott. Scott is involved with, or he founded, so he's definitely involved with a group called Early Vote Action. He is the founder of that. We did speak about that. There is a website that you can go to. There are apps for Android and Apple. I will leave links to all that in the show notes below. I think it is vital to go check that out. He is on a rampage with all the volunteers like Robert and so many others to register people to vote, to get the word out. They are looking like they're going to flip Pennsylvania, which is phenomenal. But it takes the groundwork. It takes it takes us going out there and doing the work that the Democrats are doing to get the messaging out there, registering people to vote, offer rides to the polls, help them out in any way. I mean, the Democrats have got the ground game, and the Republicans have always kind of stood by and watched. It is time to be more aggressive, and it's time to be more proactive as far as that goes. And hats off to Scott Presler. Again, I'm going to leave links to Early Vote Action and all the apps and all that good stuff down in the show notes below. Please go check that out. Please go check that out. And again, just a couple more moving on. The quartering. Loved me some Jeremy over at the quartering. This is a PSYOP, and I did hear him cover this map specifically. This is a PSYOP to get this exact reaction. Nothing is over. It will still be near impossible to get Trump to win in November. Yes, it will, because we have everything working against us. So that's what I'm seeing, guys. I mean, everything is pointing to a Trump victory right now. I mean, you got Biden that needs to go. Biden that's probably most likely going to go. No real good option to replace him. The money may not even transfer over, right? And then you got this leaked map. You got all these polls coming out, but we knew how great polls were back when he was running against Hillary and had Hillary up by a lot in every poll. So we know we can't trust the polls. We know we can't trust these leaked documents. And what can we trust? Nothing but you and me going out there, standing in line and putting our vote in, taking our friend with us, taking our grandma with us, whoever, getting out there, getting the community involved, getting our friends and family, just ask them like, hey, are you registered to vote? Hey, do you want to ride with me to the poll? Hey, what day are you going to go vote? Are you going to early vote or are you going to vote the day? Come on with me. Where's your polling location? Just having a conversation. We have to have this ground game. We have to get after it. What do you guys think about all this? Do you think that this is a game that they're trying to play and trick the Republicans to stay at home or to lighten up on the ground game a little bit? Or you think they're in genuine panic mode? I think it's a little bit of both, if I'm honest. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. This has been your Election 24 update.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.